Bulubinaka, everyone. Welcome to the third segment of the live stream event around the 16 days of activism against violence that UNDP is facilitating. For this morning's session, the theme is around leaving no one behind and how this principle can be reflected in addressing gender-based violence. We have a lineup of panelists from the Federated States of Micronesia, as well as Fiji this morning, that will be addressing this topic. So without further delay, I will pass the floor to the Deputy Resident Representative from the UNDP Pacific Office in the Federated States of Micronesia, Mr. Kevin Petrini, to give the introductory remarks.
Good morning, colleagues. Honorable Senator Dr. Sapa Conan, I'd like to again extend my congratulations one more time for your recent election, for being the first woman in the history of the Federated States of Micronesia Congress to win a seat in Congress. Again, a very hearty congratulations. Esteemed Senior Superintendent of Police, Ms. Beretta Naisua, esteemed panelists, colleagues, distinguished guests. Greetings from the Federated States of Micronesia in Pohnpei. I am pleased to be here this morning and welcome you all to the third multi-country event organized by the United Nations Development Program Pacific and supported by the New Zealand Foreign Affairs and Trade. The event is part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and is the last of a 3-planned series of gatherings that started on the 25th November, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and will end today in the occasion of the upcoming Human Rights Day of the 10th of December. Under the theme, End Violence Against Women Now, Respond, Innovate, and Leave No One Behind to Orange the World, the UNDP Pacific Office joins the Unite campaign, which is the United Nations Secretary General's campaign by 2030 to end violence against women, to call upon activists, governments, and UN partners to mobilize people and highlight issues relevant to preventing and ending violence against women and girls, not only once a year, but every month, every day, in every hour. The first event focused on the importance of prevention and response initiatives in the fight against gender-based violence, and the second event shared some experiences and lessons learned on delivering gender-based violence services and information through innovative approaches and tools. Today, we are going to discuss how the Leave No One Behind principle is deeply connected with the achievement of gender equality and the overall sustainable development goals. Violence against women and girls takes many different forms in the Pacific. These include intimate partner physical and/or sexual violence, sexual exploitation and trafficking, economic and mental violence. Prevalence of gender-based violence in the region is much higher than the global average of 35%. While gender-based violence can happen to anyone, anywhere, some women and girls are particularly vulnerable. For instance, young girls and older women, LGBTIQ community, migrants and refugees, indigenous women and ethnic minorities are women and girls living with HIV and disabilities, and those in humanitarian crises. To address violence against women and girls, we need to ensure voices of those who are farthest behind are heard. Leave No One Behind is a commitment made by the United Nations member states to eradicate poverty, reduce inequalities, and end end discrimination. It prioritizes the most vulnerable and marginalized members of society and is at the heart of the Sustainable Development Goals. In today's discussion, we're going to hear how governments, law enforcement, and justice actors, representatives from civil society organizations, and people with disabilities ensure no one is left behind in their action to stop the cycle of violence against women. Before I conclude, let me acknowledge how for women and girls with disabilities, the intersection of gender inequality and disability makes them especially vulnerable to gender-based violence. Research has found that persons with disabilities are at least 3 times more likely to experience physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional violence than persons without disabilities. As we join the recent celebrated International Day of Persons with Disabilities on the 3rd of December, we need to acknowledge the unique intersection of gender and disability, and we have to ensure that the complexities of violence against women and girls with disabilities are properly understood and addressed. At the heart of today's event, the Leave No One Behind principle is the imperative to support those who are particularly vulnerable. No matter where violence against women happens, what form it takes, and whom it impacts, it must be stopped. The promise of the Sustainable Development Goals to leave no one behind cannot be fulfilled without ending violence against women. I wish to call on all stakeholders to join hands to increase awareness, galvanize advocacy efforts, and share knowledge on inclusive interventions to prevent and stop gender-based violence now. I thank you all for joining in this 3rd and last event of the 16 Days of Activism campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Petrini, for those introductory remarks. We were supposed to also hear from the Senior Superintendent of Police, Ms. Beretta Naisua, but she is running a little late due to competing priorities, but we will get to hear from her as part of the panel discussion. Also just wanted to welcome the viewers that are tuning in on the live stream platform through the PG Television site. Thank you for joining in, and thank you to colleagues joining in through Zoom. We will move right on to the next agenda item, and we welcome and congratulate Senator Dr. Sapa Conan, who is tuning in from the Federated States of Micronesia. Congratulations, Senator, on your recent election to the Congress of Micronesia, and we wish you well. Senator Conman will be talking on the topic gender-based violence and social inclusion in the Federated States of Micronesia, the challenges and priorities. So over to you, Senator Sapa Conman.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very grateful for the invitation and to talk about gender-based violence regarding FSM data. The background for Federated States of Micronesia, there are 4 states in the FSM nation, and further laws are created at the state level with no conflicts with the Declaration of Rights in the FSM Constitution. In Article 6, Section 3 in the Constitution of our nation, a person may not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law or be denied the equal rights and protection of the laws. And the rest of the section in Article 6 also protecting the law, equal rights of men and women. And in Section 4, it talks about protection of laws may not be denied or impaired on account of sex, race, ancestry, national origin, language, or social status. In our nation, the domestic violence is more common.
Correct. I will.
Which is the most populated one among the 4 states. In Chuk State got the most cases of domestic violence. A study was done in 2014 and revealed that 60% of women in their households were emotionally abused, mostly by their husbands. 33.2% were sexually abused by other family members. 24.9% were not noted with economic abuse as defined by the study. Chuk Women Council was established and chaired by our late Christina Kikistinet. And in 2014, a counseling center for victims was created in response to the data that was noted in 2014. And this counseling center is supposed to help victims
Sorry, Senator, you're on mute.
Senator Conan, your microphone.
Hey. Hello.
You're still on mute, Senator Conan.
Oh.
Great, we can hear you now.
Can't. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, my presentation is on the screen, and where I was saying that domestic violence was the most common violence we have at home, and for rape, it's also happens mostly at home by relatives, and with the findings that we had in 2014, a counseling center was created to assist the victims and also to help out on what to do regarding the relatives that caused the violence or the crimes. So laws were also established, but in my state, the only law that was approved at the moment was the age to consent for marriage, and it was approved or established in 2019. But in the states of Pohnpei, Pohnpei State, where our national or capital is located, Pohnpei were successful because the domestic violence law was established in 2017, and the family protection law was also done in 2014. And in 2019, the age of consent and the Disability Act was also approved in Pohnpei in the same year. So Pohnpei State is well off than the rest of the other states in Micronesia. So our challenges is for the legislators to implement those important laws to tackle the ongoing violence against the weak ones, especially women at home. And we need to work hard to push those laws in place. The second challenge we have is data collection of cases that were not reported. It's due to other barriers. The islands are scattered. That's for geographical barriers, and also social stigma, fear of repeat attack if reported. And the common one is economic barriers, lack of funds to afford the transport coming to the center where the counseling center is located. Last, lack of facilities for families in crisis in the peripheries to replace the traditional family support network that we used to have in the past. And that's our main problem now. So my main priority is to implement those laws as early as possible. The next one is to enforce laws to increase the penalty if new cases still coming with despite the law that they enforced. Third one is traditional family support network should be encouraged and supported by the government. If not available for other people, then government has to find a supportive system to be in place for the sake of everyone. Last but not least, to increase education and awareness in the communities for all women to attend this annual meeting to help them understand that our FSM government agreed to protect them, all women, and to maintain the local, not to leave no one behind at home with this violence. Conclusion. The response is here, but the implementation of it takes long years. Creating and enforcing those essential laws are the main factors to prevent cases in the communities. To have a brighter future for women and children in the Federated States of Micronesia. It can be done through elimination of violence against women is the key. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Senator Conan.
Thank you once again, Senator Conan, for those statistics and information from your state of Chuk in the Federated States of Micronesia. Indeed, quite troubling statistics, but also on the flip side, great to see some proactive legislative reforms happening to address the issue of gender-based violence. We do have a question for you, Senator Conan, from the live stream platform. If you don't mind sharing your thoughts on. The question is from Danielle Raitan, and she asks, as a woman, what obstacles did you have to overcome to pursue the political career? And what advice would you give to young women that would like to take over leadership positions? Senator Conan, do you have any thoughts to share on that with Danielle and also with the public?
Yes, the reason why I was able to join the race is because of my family support. I was raised by a big family, and when my husband died, my husband was also a congressman, and when he died, my family encouraged me to take his place in order to help out the community that he was helping. And the main thing that a leader or a woman should have is a family support, because they're the ones who do the work. They help you with the fund, with the campaign, with everything, with the support that you will need during the campaign and up to now. So that's the main factor that helped me to be able to win this election. And the other thing is my husband's friends who were also his supporters in the communities. They were the ones who helped me with the campaign in places that I was not able to reach. So those are the two main factors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conan, and indeed, very practical suggestions and advice to women, especially young women trying to enter into politics. And we also send our belated condolences to you on the passing of your dear husband. And we also remember the work of Christina Stinnett, who set up the Chuk Women's Council, innovative work, and we do hope that her work around supporting women who face violence will continue. So our condolences as well to the Stinnett family and friends, and to the women of Chuk. We will now switch on to a short video that we've prepared or set up for this session. And the video really looks at the connection between climate change and gender-based violence, and how disasters exacerbate the incidences of violence in our communities. Great, thank you for that wonderful video. As we wait for our next panelist to join us, just an interesting fact for members of the public who are joining through the live stream platform, who may be wondering why we use the color orange. Well, we use it as really a symbol of a brighter future, or a future that we all want to live in, which is a world free of violence. A world free of violence for women and girls. And this is a unifying theme that is used throughout the Unite campaign's global activities. So just a fun fact for us all to note. I'd now like to welcome the Senior Superintendent of Police, Beretta Maisua. Thank you for joining us amidst your very busy schedule. The impact of COVID-19 is not gender blind, and so therefore the response to it should not be either. The impact of COVID-19 on gender-based violence is not gender blind. Therefore, the response to it should not be either. Not only during the pandemic, but in everyday development work, the promise of sustainable development goals to leave no one behind cannot be fulfilled without ending violence against women. In this session, which we will hear from Senior Superintendent Beretta Naisua, we will hear from the partners and UNDP experiences to better reach and serve groups that are marginalized and most likely to be left behind in the fight against gender-based violence. The discussion will highlight how to formulate inclusive projects and activities where recovery is centered on the principle of leaving no one behind. So welcome again, SSP Beretta Naisua, and I welcome you to share your thoughts on this theme.
Thank you very much. Very Mbulavinak, and a very good morning to you all. Foremost, thank you for the invitation to be part of this webinar as we come together to pursue of improving services and responses to gender-based violence. Acknowledge the facilitators in convening this series of webinars, and we are optimistic of walking away with more knowledge and understanding of how best and where we can improve the knowledge and understanding and how we can work together to improve the status quo. In as far as policing services is concerned, we are responding to gender-based violence. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may provide an overview of crime statistics for the 5-year period from 2016 to 2020, particularly on crimes against women and girls. A total of 14,108 crimes against women were recorded from 2016 to 2020. The prevalent offenses being assault occasioning actual bodily harm and criminal intimidation, likewise common assault. Assault causing actual bodily harm recorded 1,899 cases, criminal intimidation 1,330, and common assault 1,317 cases that has been recorded with the Fiji Police Force. All forms of crimes against women, a deplorable and an elderly woman has not been spared. For the same reporting period, we had recorded cases where women in their 70s and 80s have been victims of assault, causing actual bodily harm, common assault, criminal intimidation, and indecently annoying any person. Furthermore, crimes against children recorded 5,668 reports during the same reporting period, which is 2016 to the 2020. Out of this figure, 3,692 victims alone were girls under the age of 18 years. The most prevalent offenses is similarly to women, causing actual bodily harm, rape, defilement of young persons between 13 to 16 years of age, abduction, and persons under 18 years of age with intent to have carnal knowledge and indecent assault. During the same reporting period, the youngest victims have been 3-month-old babies, a 6-month-old, and a 1-year-old who has been victims of assault and sexual assault. What is even more worrying being the fact that majority of the cases, the perpetrator or offender is known to the victims and they live under the same roof. Hence, our community policing approach, targeting the family structure, which I will be touching on a later note. We understand and take serious preventative and reactive roles we play in addressing gender-based violence within the community. The key to achieving this is trust and collaboration. We're actively doing all we can in this message. It has been reiterated to all officers from the senior command to the very junior officer by the Commissioner of Police. In that respect, we have even been fortunate to have received training from our partners from the command group to divisional level to have a better understanding and improve our responses and service to gender-based violence. Leaving no one behind is the fight against gender-based violence. You understand it is extremely important, and we take all commands of criticism against our services constructively. We respect the opinions of all who have been positive and at the same time negative to our services, because they are also checking mechanisms for us. You are all our auditors, per se. We understand the importance of gaining and maintaining the trust for those we serve, and we work extremely hard to ensure this is maintained. And hopefully now, with the easing of restrictions, we will definitely resume training opportunities with our respected counterparts. A number of meetings have been convened last year at headquarters level and was taken to the divisional level, where we brought together representatives of non-government organizations to meet senior command of the organization, the Fiji Police, and middle managers at the division and at the district level. The main purpose was to expand our channels of communication. We listened and tried our very best to take all concerns on board and work towards addressing our shortfalls, which included the following, to name a few: non-adherence to the no-drop policy, late services of DVROs, slow investigations of DVRO cases or DVRO breaches, conduct in dealing with child recovery cases. At the beginning of this year, the 16 days of activism, these were the issues that were raised again. The Commissioner has directed that all these issues to be readdressed. The organization is committed to addressing our shortfalls, whether it be the prevention and detection of crime or our responses. This is why we had the series of Talanoa sessions last year, so that we could respond to issues when it was reported. Contact information were exchanged and everyone was made available on 24/7, from the headquarters level to the divisional police commanders, the divisional managers, officers in charge at the respective policing districts, the station officers, and also the crime officers. Our Internal Affairs Office also will investigate and deal with all complaints against our service. Police officers, if they fail to conduct their duties in accordance with the best practices when dealing with cases of gender-based violence, there is a level of importance the Commissioner of Police has placed on ensuring officers do not abuse their authority or are not adhering to processes and procedures in dealing with gender-based violence. We understand that to end violence, our response must be improved, and to prevent violence, we have to be innovative with our preventative measures and strategies. And we assure you all our continued commitment in this regard. As a director of community policy working with the divisional managers, community policing here back in Fiji, we're actively involved and looking at ways of increasing our engagements and partnership towards the prevention of crimes on all forms of gender-based violence. The Fiji Police Force understands the urgency and that we are not here to be critical of anyone, but on a learning basis, so we can complement each other and find workable solutions to break the vicious cycle. You are at the receiving end of the gender-based violent cases, and you want to be able to reverse that cycle and be at the forefront on the preventative side rather than the reactive side. And that is why, as I mentioned earlier, that we are targeting the family institutions. We cannot do it alone, and we need your support. And hopefully we will not have to wait for specific times in a year to get together, but rather ask you all to come through the open door that has been made accessible to all, to discuss and deal with issues and complaints when it is brought to our attention. The quicker the better, as we do not want victims to be further victimized through our failures to play our roles effectively. Partnerships are essential, and this is the essence of Ndovata Community Policy initiative, that we are able to work on a united front and drawing from your expertise and pulling resources together, we can achieve a greater goal. Vinaka Vakalevu, and I look forward to learning a great deal from you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those insights into the work of the Community Policing Unit on addressing gender-based violence and some of the structures that are in place that the Fiji Police Force has committed to right from the Commissioner level. So it's great to hear that, and we do hope that we will get some engagement on our live platform. If you do have questions, please note that down. And we also are monitoring our Zoom platform as well for questions. So thank you once again, Mrs. Pimberetta Naisua, for your time and for your thoughts on this very important issue. We do have a question for Honorable Senator Conan, if you don't mind unmuting yourself. The question relates to what you feel are the most pressing or urgent policy or legislative issue that needs to be addressed at Congress level to in this work to prevent violence against women.
Because the problem is still ongoing. Domestic violence at home, it's a daily finding. And we have to encourage at the national level that we need to eliminate domestic violence at home as well as violence against women in general as our call in order to have a brighter future for us women and as well as the children of our country. I think that's what the first priority that I need. It should be done first at that level. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Coleman. We have a question here for Senior Superintendent of Police, Naisua. Thank you for the question as well. So in Fiji, in the experience of the Fiji police force, what is the most effective way to address violence against women from the community policing perspective?
Thank you. In fact, with this Dovata, that is a homegrown, made policing that we believe suits the environment, suits the country here back in Fiji, looking into the traditional protocols, traditional cultures. More often those through community policing initiatives, we actually target the areas of concern where most of the areas of domestic violence against women and children, those reports that are received, and when visitation of awareness that is conducted to the villages and to the settlements, upon our awareness, then women and children are able to open up that this is there's a stigma back at home that they are not able to report. And during the visitations or during the awareness programs that are being conducted to churches, to faith-based organizations, or even to the NGOs, we receive on board complaints, and we act constructively to those complaints. But for community policing, it is just that we visit the community, we visit the area that we feel that needs our penetration as far as our engagements is concerned, and that is how best we address these issues within the community.
Great, thank you. I think there was a second part to that question. Maybe what are some of the plans to strengthen the community policing initiative?
Thank you. Currently with the policing initiative, most often or probably locally when we visit the community posts that are being located to the doorsteps of the community members out there, we found out that there were less footprints of police officers at the respective community posts. We acknowledge and we thank the vision by the Commissioner of Police in enabling community policing to be a step away from the community in providing the most needed capability, which is manpower. So as we speak, in one of the endorsements that was made by the Commissioner of Police on the 14th of October, the revamping or the deployment of police officers at the respective community posts. So we have been given a 6 months period where we will, by the end of the 6 months or probably the end of beginning of early next year, we should be having quite a good number of officers being deployed at the community post level so that they will respond effectively and constructively to the needs on cases that are being reported as far as gender-based violence is concerned. Have I answered the question?
Yes, thank you very much, SSP Naisua. Being mindful of the time, there was one more question to Senator Conan. I believe you've touched a little bit in your previous answer to, some recommendations for how women can enter into politics. There's a question of your advice to women on how to prepare to join Congress. So apart from family support and also using influential male as part of your campaign, are there other tips that you have to share with us, Senator Conan?
Yes, I think another part from family is your service to the people in the community. You have to be around them, like what I was doing. I was a doctor. I was working as a doctor, so they know me. I was exposed to them. So when I did the campaign, I have to reach their houses for whatever assistance they need, and I provide. And during the election day, they will always say, I only vote for that person because that person comes to my house. I think that's another factor that they have to work on when they run for office. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Conan. We've now come to the end of our live stream event. So I'd like to invite Ms. Yemez Rakwerki, the Deputy Resident Representative for the UNDP Pacific Office in Fiji, to give a summary and close of the live stream event.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here today in joining you in this live stream event on our 16-day activism against gender-based violence. Esteemed Senior Superintendent of Police, Ms. Beretta Linzana, Honorable Senator Dr. Sapa Conan, let me join my colleague Kevin and all others in extending our sincere congratulations to you for being the first women to win a seat in the recent election in the federal state of Micronesia FSM Congress. Esteemed panelists, colleagues, distinguished guests. We have heard powerful experience from today's discussion in support of the need to undertake explicit measures so that no one is left behind in our actions to stop the cycle of violence against women and girls. In committing to the realization of the 2013 Agenda for Sustainable Development, member states recognize that the dignity of individual is fundamental and that agenda's goal and targets should be met for all nations and people and all segments of the society. Ensuring that these commitments are translated into effective action requires a precise understanding of the target's population. However, the disaggregated data need to be addressed to all vulnerable groups, including children, youth, persons with disability, people living with HIV/AIDS, older persons, indigenous people, refugees, internally displaced persons, and migrants are sparse. I wanted to thank the superintendent for really giving us that data for Fiji context, really ranging over 4 or 5 years. Thank you very much. Few of the current available data can shed light on the intersectionality of vulnerabilities. Not only women and vulnerable groups are left behind, but they risk being pushed further behind by a variety of forces, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the negative impact of climate change and other forms of degradation, on which we have shared a very brief video on. Even from the limited data currently available, it is clear that the benefit of development are not equally shared. data confirms that 1 in 3 women around the world have been subject to physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner or non-partner, indicating the level of violence against women and girls remaining disturbingly high. In the case of women and girls with disabilities, studies indicate that they are at least 3 times even more likely to experience physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional violence than women and girls without disabilities. As gains in women's rights remain fragile, it is essential to collect gender data for improvement of gender-based violence services and programs with a survivor-centered approach. And I wanted to thank Superintendent again for really sharing the community policing experience. Timely and reliable estimate on violence against women contribute to improve our understanding of the prevalence and extent of the problem and help to track progress. Data can drive political public awareness, inform more comprehensive and sustained response to ending violence against women and girls globally and monitoring progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals locally. As we come to the end of the 16-day activism against gender-based violence, we thank all our partners who participated in the discussion today and during the 3 live-streamed events from 25th of November to 8th of December and shared important challenges and lessons learned as a first-line responders to gender-based violence. UNDP Pacific is committed to support their work to address gender inequalities and strengthen the efforts to prevent and respond to gender-based violence. In particular, UNDP supports efforts to ensure justice for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence in crisis and non-crisis context by improving the skills and the knowledge of the police officers, judges, prosecutors, by strengthening the capacity of our national partners, by promoting women participation and leadership in all forms of decision-making, while it is always necessary to support survivors. Just as important is the primary prevention work that addresses root causes, which was also reiterated by the superintendent earlier on. Reflecting on the sharing of lessons learned can help us improve our programming so that every woman and girl enjoy full gender equality. We all need to join hands during the 16-day activism against gender-based violence with the aim of creating awareness and act to end violence against women and girls in partnership with government, civil society, and citizens. We need to work together to protect women and girls against violence as a key principle in achieving Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. We need to make every woman count, and I wish to really sincerely thank you all for being with us here in this journey, and I hope this activism doesn't end in these 16 days, but continues to be part of our lives and every single day of our work. And thank you very much for all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi, and thank you everyone for joining the live stream platform on PGTV. Thank you to colleagues who have joined in through Zoom link. And so with that, we wish you all a good day. And Michaela, what did you?
Yes, sorry. Maybe we can all turn on our cameras if you would like, and we can just say all together, like kind of loudly, end violence against women now. So I will just do the countdown, and if you all can turn cameras and microphones on, we can try to pass strongly this message from our side. So just 1 second more, we can see all our colleagues. So end violence against women now. 3, 2, 1. End violence
against women now.